Hey guys, I'm John. We've got Garrett here. We're going to start our YouTube podcast thing where we're going to talk about things that are important to us here in the business. So we'll talk about diamonds, colored stones, watches, all that stuff. So tonight we're going to talk about the difference between natural and lab diamonds. So I'm going to hand that over to Garrett. He's going to talk about some naturals, and then we'll kind of get that discussion going about labs.
Sure.
So,
Well, I guess I'm playing the role of devil's advocate because anyone who's worked with us in the past knows that we're not against lab diamonds by any means. Because you can boil it down to the simple fact that a diamond is a diamond. The material is the same. It's a matter of where it comes from and whether or not that means anything to you. And we do respect the desire to have a natural diamond. Some customers insist on it, and we get it, absolutely. So we do stock actually a fair amount of natural diamond jewelry. Most of our diamond fashion pre-made type items are natural diamonds. We have a selection of semi-mount or like a kind of pre-finished engagement rings where you pick out the center stone, stick it in there. A lot of those have lab diamonds as an option. So we're kind of we cover the whole gamut, and that's by design. As a modern, forward-thinking jewelry store, we want to embrace the inevitable, the future, which is sustainability of lab diamonds, and they are significantly more affordable. But if I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, I will make the case for natural diamonds and their inherent value. Yes, they cost a whole lot more than the labs do, but there's a reason for it. And John and I have worked together in this business for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the beginning going through some training with him and enjoying the little snippets, the tidbits, and the facts that we're supposed to share with our customers to build that intrinsic value with natural diamonds, which were the only thing available at the time. So we came up in a world where that was it. Diamonds were not synthesizable. They couldn't be made in a lab. But now that they can be, it's created a huge rift in the industry. And a lot of jewelers are struggling with how to adapt to this change. I think we have a pretty good game plan in place.
we do. I mean, we definitely have embraced it and talked about it a lot. There's been a lot of conversation that's happened, natural versus lab.
So I did digress a little bit. Some of the snippets that we used to convince customers that these tiny little clear rocks were super valuable were things like you have to move 853 tons of dirt on average to get a piece of raw material that's sufficient size and quality to end up with a 1 carat diamond. Also, 1 carat diamonds from the earth are so rare that 9 out of 10 Americans have never even held one in their hands, much less owned one. They are, okay, let's address the elephant in the room in that some people claim their scarcity is artificial, that they're being stockpiled by the De Beers group and controlled at a released rate into the market. There is some truth to this. They are released on a timetable or on a specific rate, and that is to preserve and maintain the value of existing diamonds on the market. So people can also argue that this controlled release to prevent flooding of the market and thereby the decreased value that comes with increased demand or increased supply would decrease the value of these stones. It's claimed that they do this to keep the diamond that you already own from losing its value overnight. If a new diamond mine opens up and they flood the market with all this new stuff, all of a sudden diamonds aren't worth as much and you feel gypped, right? So there is some value to them holding back stones and releasing them at a controlled intervals. And in fact, just like Kelley Blue Book for cars has determined values for used cars based on supply and demand in the market, there's a similar report called the Rappaport Diamond List that comes out monthly that establishes values of natural diamonds. They do not publish a list of lab diamonds.
No, they don't, which I'm surprised by, that they haven't started doing that yet.
They may catch on to it eventually, but the traditional jewelers are very resistant to this paradigm shift that is accepting lab diamonds into the market.
They are, for sure. I think there's definitely something to be said. We've kind of joked about this a couple of times where when we first started opening this, we were like, we're going to do moissanite and we're going to do lab diamonds, and that's the only thing that we're going to do. And then we started to get back into that where, wow, some of these natural diamonds are really beautiful. And it was kind of interesting how we kind of transitioned back to, wow, some of these natural diamonds are really beautiful. But I think we definitely saw the writing on the wall on the value of the lab diamonds because it gets those people into a price point that it's totally different. Like my devil's advocate is the 1.5 carat labs, diamond studs. We have them marked for $19.99. The natural equivalent to that is like $6,000. It's a remarkable difference, but they're the same thing. I think the thing that we have to overcome the most is, well, they're fake.
That's what a lot of jewelers that just refuse to adopt lab diamonds, that's what they're describing them as.
Right.
As fake diamonds. And if it were a simulant or something like a cubic zirconia, then I would understand that approach. Our problem with this is, let's be realistic or pragmatic here. It's the same exact crystalline structure. It's the same material. It's compressed carbon that has the highest hardness of anything on Earth. It's a 10 on the Mohs scale, or relative hardness, ease of scratchability. Diamonds can be worn every single day, bashed into things, run into stuff. You know, you don't really have to baby your diamonds.
Right.
You can treat them as roughly as you'd like, as long as they don't take tremendous impact. They will never age, they'll never wear. And that's the big difference between, say, a lab diamond and a simulant like a cubic zirconia or Diamondique, and stuff you see in the back of magazines. Those are not diamonds. They don't have the same refractive index. They play with the light differently, and an experienced eye can tell.
Or the crystals. We've
Yes.
seen that as well.
Lots of crystal stuff, and you can spot it from across the room. They don't really reflect the right spectrum of light. They just, after seeing enough diamonds over the years, you can kind of get a feel for whether or not it's the real thing right away. And then side by side, as a graduate gemologist, you put two next to each other. I frankly can't tell you a difference because there is no physical difference.
Yeah, there's not. And I really enjoy looking at the labs, and I enjoy selling the labs. And I think most of our engagement ring sales have been lab diamonds.
We've sold a few naturals. We sold a couple of big natural diamonds as well.
We have, yes.
And that's great, because that means, as a reputable jeweler that's striving to reach all areas of the market, entry-level affordable stuff up to super high-end, buyers of all types have come to trust us with natural diamonds and labs. That leads another point of discussion there, is that if we're a jeweler that embraces lab diamonds, are we to be trusted to give you exactly what you're expecting? I mean, if you're buying an engagement ring and you're spending the extra money for a natural diamond because that appeals to you, you like the idea of the resale value, it holding its value. And also just being able to tell people, your fiance or your friends at dinner parties, this is a natural diamond, it's the real deal, it's valuable. And to some that appeals, totally get it. We're in the luxury goods market.
Right.
It's, it's not an odd thought to us. It makes sense. You want to be able to have 100% certainty that what you're paying for is what you get. As of now, all lab diamond producers, or at least the ones that we deal with exclusively, will always laser inscribe on the outside. The girdle is the edge of the stone. They will always inscribe it with LG or lab grown. I don't believe it's regulated or required by law, and that's great, because it means the manufacturers have gotten ahead of that need and obviated the necessity for regulation, because they did the ethical thing up front and labeled them. And that's because they don't have accurate testing yet.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we, as jewelers, will always be upfront. Like, hey, even this semi-mount has lab diamonds in it. These are lab diamonds. We mark things as lab diamonds, and I think that's really important to say, hey, this is what you're getting,
right,
and not pass them off as diamonds, even though you can't tell. But from a standpoint of, I want to be upfront with our customers, we have to let them know that everything's a lab diamond, and we will for sure. I think one thing that's come up as well was trade-in.
Yep.
So we've had a lot of customers say, hey, jewelers aren't trading these up, or they won't. And I think that's kind of what sets us apart, is we absolutely will.
They're still diamonds.
They're still diamonds. We're going to treat them as diamonds, and if you have some lab diamond studs and you want to upgrade to the biggest one, we'll definitely talk trade. And I think that's really important, because the natural diamonds, every jeweler will do that.
Right.
I think there are some jewelers that won't with the lab diamonds, but I think it's important that we have to.
I feel like that's a desperate last-ditch effort to push people back into the natural diamond market. I think a lot of salespeople just want to sell the more expensive product. If you're content with the diamond coming from a lab rather than the ground, and you may prefer the sustainability of lab diamonds or the verifiable chain of custody, and you want to spend a third as much, it's kind of the average, it's been about a third to a half the price of natural stones. If you like that and it appeals to you, go for it. and we'll give you the full trade amount towards something in the future.
Right.
And I think a lot of jewelers are saying that's not an option, just to steer you back towards the naturals, because salesmen want to close a bigger sale.
I would agree with that.
We're not about that. We'd rather you get, the nicest quality product you can with the money, and that's part of what appeals to us about lab diamonds. You get so much more for the money. But if you don't like the idea that it's synthesized, it's man-made, then okay, we will sell you natural diamonds. We have a whole bunch in the
Yeah,
case
we have a
right
whole
there.
bunch of natural diamonds right there that we've been kind of staring at this whole time.
Yeah.
I love the thought that we have a more affordable option
Yeah.
that is a diamond, that we can call a diamond.
Yeah.
And
It won't wear out.
it won't.
It
It's
reflects
just
light the same as any other diamond.
it's just one of those things that I don't think a lot of jewelers are willing to talk about. I don't think a lot of distributors will really kind of talk about lab diamonds, but
Oh, they saw the writing on the wall, though. In the last year that we've been back in business together, all of our distributors have just finally kind of given up the goat, stop the fight. Like, look, lab diamonds are inevitable. They've done surveys. Was it 75% of people under the age of 40 are totally okay with lab diamonds? So
yeah,
by
and
us turning up our nose at that and be like, that's fake stuff.
I
First,
don't-
it's
we
disingenuous.
don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
It makes it obvious that you're just trying to close a bigger sale, and you're turning away your biggest future segment of the market.
It was the same thing. Remember back in like 2002, 2003 when we were talking about moissanite, and the industry was like, no, we are not doing this. The same thing happened with lab diamonds, and
Yeah.
you just got to get ahead of the curve. I think we definitely are here.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, and it comes back to the ethics thing. They are working on spectrometry testing equipment. It's very expensive, and it's of questionable reliability right now. Once they improve that tech, and believe me, there's a lot of money in the diamond business, especially on the manufacturing side. Those folks are pouring money into developing testing systems that can determine whether or not a diamond was grown through chemical vapor disposition or high pressure, high heat, which are the two ways that they lab create diamonds. It was very Nixon-like.
Yeah,
I'm not a crook.
I'm not a crook.
How apt, right? So they're coming out with these testing systems that I think will become reliable enough, and we have a good enough mix of our own merchandise that once we acquire one of these systems, we'll be able to test it right away.
Right.
So basically, you take a diamond, whether it's lab or not, you throw it into this box, it analyzes it, and then it will tell you via a pretty simple color code whether or not it's been lab grown. And I think that might get disreputable or dishonest jewelers in some big trouble in the next few years. So just plain old-fashioned ethics and morality aside, you're digging your own grave if you're not honest from day one.
Exactly.
And I feel like I wanted to hit on that again, and that we will have this testing equipment as soon as it becomes reliable enough to justify the purchase. And anything you've ever bought from us, if we labeled it as lab or as natural, come on in, we will verify that that is what it is.
Yeah, that we'll say, yep, this was the natural, and we will verify it 100%.
And that'll be a game changer, just like those little diamond testers that every jewelry store at the mall has. Once that becomes a commonplace thing, and it's easy to accurately identify what's lab and what's not, I think that would put a lot of the traditional jewelers at ease. Because this whole calling them fake thing it's because it scares you. It's okay to admit it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I think even some of the big players are going to have to kind of come around and embrace lab diamonds 100%, because
Yeah.
like you said earlier, they're missing a whole swath of the population that is 100% okay with buying these.
Right.
And I think our engagement ring sales that we've had have proved that. Like, we sold that internally flawless lab diamond. It was beautiful,
And it was a deal.
but it was unobtainable as a natural diamond.
Right.
I mean, at that price point.
We could find one, but yeah, orders of magnitude more expensive.
Yeah.
And does it wear or look any different?
No.
Do her friends know that it's lab grown? Only if she tells them.
Yeah.
So,
It's perfect.
yeah. Yeah, there's plenty more to come on that topic for sure, because the industry is rapidly growing, evolving, and changing as we speak. And I'd like to think that we're ahead of the curve by embracing the future. But if you want a traditional natural diamond in any format, we can do that. We're willing to go ultra high end as well. If you want like a 20 karat natural diamond tennis bracelet and spend 6 figures on it, we got you.
Yeah, we can find those.
If you want to spend $1,000 on an engagement ring, go lab diamond, you'll get a big stone for that. So we might surprise you what you can get for the money. So we just want to be flexible, approachable, kind of everyone's jeweler. And I think the only way to do it is to embrace the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if you guys have any questions about what we talked about, let us know in the comments. We'll answer every question that comes through. And then, like I said in the video last week, if you guys have any other topics that you want us to talk about that you've always been curious about in the jewelry business, whether it's finished jewelry or watches, let us know, and we'll make as much content on those videos as you want. But we'll see you guys around. Have a great evening.